Hey, it's Nick Fogelson from Northwest Endometriosis and Pelvic Surgery. Haven't said anything for a while, just been really busy with our practice, but I had something I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Not specifically about endometriosis, but about a medical topic in general. And that topic is COVID vaccination. And I thought I wanted to discuss. One of the things that's interesting is when you have some amount of social media presence, which I do, is that I have a wide variety of people that subscribe to the material I put out, and so they come from a wide variety of places. And because I have sort of just a professional Facebook account, I'm friends with lots of people that I don't really know. I mean, really, they're subscribing to me more than I am subscribing to them. And so I see all kinds of stuff in my feed that I generally don't get involved in because that's not really the relationship I have with those people. But every now and then I see something that's just like such substantial medical misinformation that I feel like, I kind of feel like putting in my 2 cents about, okay, what's reality and what's not. And that's always a mistake, right? It's always a mistake to go onto someone else's feed and tell them they're wrong. But what's better is to use your own social media presence, which I have, just to say what I think is right. And so what I want to talk about is the safety of the COVID vaccine and why you should get it. I see people out there kind of questioning the safety of the COVID vaccine and with all kinds of stuff that just is not really based in reality. One of the things I see is that they're saying that this is a tremendously untested product that is going to have untoward dangers and will and it's going to change. One of them is going to change your DNA, which is the first part's maybe a tiny bit true. The last part's totally false. So, what is this? This COVID vaccine is a new kind of vaccine. It's called an mRNA vaccine. And so, if you don't really know what that is, you might feel frightened by it because you might go, "Oh my God, it's an untested vaccine. It's a new thing. It's going to cause terrible harm." But when you really understand how the transcription translation system works in a human cell, or in a non-human cell for that matter, you realize that no, there's not really any reason to be afraid of this. In fact, you should be excited about the innovation of such a thing. So the way that most vaccines work up to now is the vaccine manufacturer will actually create a molecule that looks a lot like the thing you're trying to vaccinate against in some cases. In other cases, literally creates a recreation of the thing you're trying to vaccinate against that's been modified in some way to not be as dangerous. Like the flu vaccine, actually, in the past, or used to be like that, and polio vaccine used to be in the past, where it was literally a live virus that had been injured. The virus had been modified to not make you sick anymore, but it still was a live virus that would reproduce in your body as a so-called live vaccine. And then they created these different kinds of vaccines that literally would have a little piece of a molecule that is related to the thing you're vaccinating against, goes into your body sees it, realizes it's foreign, develops an immune response to it, and then we have a way that anytime we've seen something and we've developed an immune response to it, the next time we see it, we can develop a really strong immune response to it. And that's what a vaccine is doing, is it's giving your body the ability to develop a very strong immune response so that if you get reinfected with that virus or with that bacteria, your body can just mount this tremendous response and kill it before it can really infect your body substantially. So with most viral vaccines, they've been manufacturing some piece of the virus that your body would respond to. That's actually kind of difficult to do. Sometimes you have to manufacture a really complicated protein, which is, from a biochemical point of view, is not necessarily so simple to do. Sometimes they would actually create a bacteria that creates like a custom bacteria that makes the thing, and so you have like these biovats that are making tons of this material that is going to become the vaccine. The actual science involved with creating that takes a long time. It's why it takes 18 months to 2 years to make a vaccine in many cases. So this new kind of vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. So in order to understand what this is, you have to understand how the human cell works. So all of our cells have a nucleus. The nucleus has our DNA in it, and the DNA is the instruction set that is used to write all the functions of our body. And all of our cells have exactly the same DNA. Some of them have slight modifications of this something called epigenetic changes between different strands of the same DNA in different parts of the body. But for the most part, all of our DNA is the same in every cell. And there's a mechanism called transcription where a little protein goes along the DNA and basically reads the DNA and kicks out a molecule called an RNA, the mRNA, which is what this vaccine's made of. And so what the mRNA does is it goes outside the nucleus to something called a ribosome. And the ribosome basically reads that RNA like a blueprint and then assembles a protein. And so the DNA codes for this protein, it creates the mRNA. That mRNA is like a blueprint that gets turned into the protein, and then the protein does the thing that it's designed to do. So traditional vaccines would basically give you the protein itself. Whereas what an mRNA vaccine is it's a set of instructions that your body is reading to create the thing that is going to be the vaccine. So the mRNA makes a protein that is, in this case, the spike protein, and that's the part of the coronavirus that allows it to invade the cell. And so you inject it with the mRNA, you make the spike protein, you make the immune response, you get vaccinated. Okay, and so instead of, it would have taken years to probably create a mechanism to create enough of that spike protein to make a vaccination. But it doesn't take as long. Once you have the mRNA sequence required to make the spike protein, we have the technology to create massive amounts of mRNA because we can write any sequence of mRNA we want. We have these basically 3D printers in a sense of like machines that literally, if you feed in a sequence, it can just generate it. And so you can generate the piece of mRNA, and then you can use another technique called PCR to amplify it. And so you get a couple copies of it, and then you use this technique called polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, and you can amplify, and you can create millions and millions of copies of this mRNA. And then you inject it in people, they make the spike protein, they get immunized. So what the mRNA technology allows people, the manufacturers to do is have a DNA and RNA sequence they want, just print it out, produce it. So now you make the vaccine so much faster. So yes, it's a new technology, but in the end, it's still creating a protein. So one thing to understand is that mRNA is a very unstable molecule. That's why it has to be frozen at really, really low temperatures. Because think about it, in the body, when you create an mRNA, obviously you don't want it to be around forever because some signal has said we need to create this protein, and so you want to create some amount of it. But if the mRNA stuck around forever, you would be making that protein forever. I mean, that's almost like what cancers do, is they grow out of control. So mRNA is functionally a very unstable molecule at room temperature or your body's temperature. So this RNA is getting in your body, you're making a whole bunch of the spike protein, and then pretty quickly the mRNA is just gone. And it's not going to create long-term issues. And second, it's not going to change your DNA. Like, that's what I was trying to interact with someone online. It's saying, oh, it's going to affect your DNA. It's like, no, it's not. And if you believe that, you're just ignorant of how, the human cell works. RNA does not change DNA. It just doesn't work that way. And so to believe that an mRNA vaccine is going to change your DNA is just ignorant. It's wrong. It's fake news. It's just not correct. And what's irritating is that people that don't know very much love to talk about what they don't know about. But people that do know about this stuff usually have jobs. And usually, like me, I mean, I'm one of the rare ones, like I'm actually talking about it. Most people, if they're a biochemist or they're a geneticist, they're busy doing biochemistry or genetics. They're not online trying to educate the world unless they're Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like, they're not like actually trying to educate the world about exactly how this damn thing works. And so you have people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, talking about stuff that's wrong. And when you don't have much information about what's right, then people believe them. So I use whatever power I have here to tell you that there's nothing really to be afraid of in the mechanism of the mRNA vaccine. Now, what is the long-term impact of being vaccinated? I mean, we presume that it's immunity from coronavirus vaccine. And to the best of our data right now, a single injection of an mRNA vaccine, whether or not it's the Pfizer or the Moderna, which are basically the same thing, they're really the same molecule, that within one dose, within a couple of weeks of the one dose, you have a 90% reduction in your likelihood of getting infected with coronavirus. And by the second dose, it's even higher than that. And more recent data is suggesting it's almost 100%, that any people that had coronavirus after vaccination they're now looking back at it that many of them were probably infected before they were vaccinated. So nearly 100% effectiveness. So I think the vast majority of my audience already probably believes in vaccination and is dying to get vaccinated. If you're a person that believes in, falsities about these things, and I'm probably not going to convince you that you're wrong. I don't know what to tell you other than I would encourage you for the benefit of yourself and your family and the community to get vaccinated. But if you're a person that's kind of in the middle and you're wondering about whether or not these kind of things that are out there telling you not to get vaccinated are real, I just ask you to, I guess, just determine who you trust. If you trust me, then I'll tell you that you should get vaccinated. Like, it's important. I think that you will protect yourself from getting sick. You will protect your family from getting sick. You will protect, everybody, because it's not just you. Like, my family has not been vaccinated for coronavirus, but I've been vaccinated for coronavirus, which means that they're a lot safer because I'm out interacting with the world. They're mostly at home, and now I can't bring coronavirus home to them. So each person that gets vaccinated provides a tremendous benefit to lots of people. And, to some extent, one of the things I've seen in society right now is this real kind of angst about who's getting vaccinated. And, oh, did somebody step in front in line and they're low risk, but they're getting vaccinated, and we all got to have outrage because, of course, the internet is an outrage machine, right? And so what's the new thing to be outraged about is about that, oh, somebody got vaccinated that wasn't supposed to get vaccinated yet. I just think it's crazy. I mean, obviously it's better to vaccinate the highest risk people, but the worst thing to happen would be to have vaccine that doesn't end up in someone's arm. And so, like, every bit of vaccination, every single person that gets vaccinated helps all of society. Even if some 21-year-old robust dude who is obviously at low risk for dying if he gets coronavirus, vaccinating him protects 85-year-old person in the nursing home. Because the more people in society are vaccinated, the fewer people there are that can act as a vector to move the virus around. So while, yes, we would like to vaccinate the highest risk people first, we should every piece of vaccine that has ever been created should end up in someone's arm. And no one should be crying if it happens to be a person that, wasn't supposed to get it. And if somebody, socially engineers themselves into getting the vaccine early, well, they shouldn't do that. But, in the end, even your society is still benefiting by the fact that somebody kind of sneaked their way into getting vaccinated early. Obviously people shouldn't do that, but I'm not that sad. Like, in the end, the vaccine got into someone's arm, and that's what we need. Like, all over the world, 5 billion people need to get a coronavirus vaccine in their arm. And my personal opinion is this angst about vaccinating the wrong people first is a stupid temporary thing. Like, eventually there's going to be enough vaccine that everybody gets vaccinated, and that's going to be, it's like all we want to do is get the vaccines in people's arms. So my opinion is you should, if you can get vaccinated, the sooner you get vaccinated, you should. Now, the other thing I would tell you is, like, what happens when you get vaccinated? The answer is you may get sick. Like, I can tell you that I got vaccinated. The first time I got vaccinated, I felt pretty much okay. The second time I got vaccinated, I felt terrible. Like, I actually felt pretty sick for 24 hours afterwards. I did not feel good. But I hear people go like, oh, I heard so-and-so got sick after they got the vaccine. I don't want to get it. I'm like, no, that's total horseshit. Like, the reality is that, yes, you may. The second time you get the vaccine, you're already kind of ready to make an immune response. And so you make a big immune response to the second vaccine. You create a lot of cytokines and immune reaction, and so you get sick. That means the vaccine's working. That doesn't mean the vaccine's effective. That doesn't mean the vaccine's dangerous. That means the vaccine's working. The fact that you got sick the second time means the first dose worked. Now, the older you are, people kind of worry that, oh, if old people get that sick, it's going to hurt them. The reality is that the people that have less robust immune systems don't have nearly as bad of a reaction. My father got a second vaccination, and he didn't get very sick at all. So if you get vaccinated, yeah, you'll probably feel bad after the second dose, but that's okay. It's well worth it. And believe me, the feeling of walking out through society and knowing that you're not going to get sick and you're not going to make your family sick is massively more than whatever temporary illness one experiences when one gets vaccinated the second time. So that's all I had to say. I always hope to, I've developed a certain amount of reach and platform, and I think that sometimes obviously I talk about endometriosis a lot, but if I can convince you, if you are not thinking about getting vaccinated, if I can convince you to get vaccinated, then I've done a good thing. Thanks for listening.